All right, welcome everyone. This is Mrs. Christensen speaking to you again. We're going to continue on in our energy unit. Now that we've got kinetic energy under our belts, we're going to focus on our other category, potential energy. I mentioned before that really all types of energy can be categorized as one or the other. Kinetic being things like mechanical, thermal, sound, radiant, electrical, etc. But today we're going to look at the potential side of it. And so we'll kind of define all of these for you. Put it in present mode here, sorry. So potential energy in general is the energy stored as a result of position or shape. The first one I want to mention is elastic potential energy. It results when an elastic object is stretched or compressed. So not all objects can do it, of course. Some good examples would be like rubber bands and springs and such. But here's an example of a spring. When it's in its normal kind of resting phase, it really doesn't have any elastic potential energy. When you stretch it out, it has elastic potential energy. And when you compress it, again, beyond its normal state, it also has elastic potential energy. And the farther it's stretched or compressed, the greater the potential energy. Another type is chemical potential energy. It's energy that is stored in chemical bonds between atoms in compounds. And if you recall, in our first semester, we focused a lot on chemistry, and you learned about naming and writing those compounds. And in each of those was stored energy. Batteries and the food that we eat are also good examples of stored chemical potential energy. And so we see this. I think it's a pug, right? A cute little pug who just ate too much lunch, and kinetic energy equals 0, but he's got all sorts of chemical potential energy stored in his belly. Poor guy. It's kind of probably how we're all feeling at times right now. Nuclear potential energy is also in this category. It's stored energy in the nucleus of an atom because there's a strong nuclear force holding that nucleus together. The last one I want to mention is the one that we actually do a lot of calculations with, so it's kind of the most important for you guys. Gravitational potential energy. It's the energy stored in an object that's elevated. It depends on three factors: the object's mass in kilograms, the height of the object above the ground or another reference point, and of course the acceleration due to gravity, which we should remember is 9.8 meters per second squared. So here's our formula. Potential energy is equal to mass times gravity times the height. Again, kilograms is always our mass unit. G stands for the acceleration due to gravity, 9.8 meters per second on Earth here. And height would be the height above the ground in meters. Let's look at a couple sample problems. Again, guys, before I go through it, if you're not already taking notes, please be doing so. You can restart this if you've just been kind of glazing over and watching it. But these vocabs should be jotted down. If you write them down, you will remember them more. If you just listen, you'll think you will, but I promise you, it just doesn't work that way. Not even adults can do that have been in their careers for however long. They need to take notes while they're in meetings and things like that. So please do the same. This is an example problem you should be working out with me here. So it looks huge, but it's actually not that bad. A diver on a 10-meter diving platform has a mass of 70 kilograms and weighs 686 newtons. Remember, weight is a force, and the unit for force is newtons, and so that's why it's been written that way. A few problems. A, how much work did he do when climbing up the platform? B, how much potential energy is he storing as he stands on that platform? And C, what do these two answers show us about work and energy? Well, I'm going to take us out of present mode so I can type some stuff here. But the equation from last unit for work is equal to force times distance. If I didn't even give you his weight, for example, here, we could still calculate the force because we know force of a object that's just climbing up is just his weight in newtons, and so you would just take m times g. So even if you don't remember that from last unit, don't sweat it. It's actually 2 units ago. Weight is equal to mass times gravity. But I gave you the weight here. And so what you would take then is your force times your distance. In other words, your 686 newtons times the distance that he traveled going up, which was just 10 meters. And so we should get, that's easy math, 6,860, and for work, our unit is joules. So we're going to do the same thing for part B. How much potential energy is he storing? We know the equation is m times g times h. So 70 kilograms times 9.8 meters per second times the 10 meters. And when you calculate that, go ahead and plug it in on your own. You should get the very same answer. And so what that means is the energy expended in climbing up is equal to the work that's done. And so they are one and the same. Answer to C. What do these two answers show about work and energy? They are one and the same. Okay, let's look at another sample problem. Let's say a 50 kilogram diver has 2,450 joules of gravitational potential energy stored as she stands on the diving platform above the water surface. So the water surface is our reference point here. How high is the platform? We've got our base equation, but we need to manipulate it to solve for height. And so basically we need to divide both sides of the equation by two variables, really, m and g. So what you get is potential energy divided by m times g is equal to the height. And so let's plug those numbers in. So 2450 joules divided by the product of the mass, 50 kilograms, times 9.8 meters per second. I should close my parentheses, that's good practice. And let's plug that in on our calculators right now. 2450 divided by, I'm going to use parentheses here, 50 times 9.8, close my parentheses, and we get a whole number, 5. 5 what? Well, let's see. We're looking for a height. Height is measured in our base unit meters. So let's try some on your own. Put it back in present mode so it's bigger for you. 3 problems. You're going to work through these on paper. You're going to show your base equation. You're going to manipulate that equation if necessary. And you're going to include your units every step of the way. Remember, any type of potential energy, kinetic energy, energy in general is always measured in joules. Now, I know in the equation before I listed it as PE equals mgh. But I threw GP in here, GPE in here for you so that you're recognizing that potential energy, gravitational potential energy, we're really referring to the same equation, mgh. Okay, watch your units, and again, show your work on paper, and we're going to go through it in just a little bit. But for now, please pause the video and work through these 3. Okay, let's go through some solutions. So the first problem involved a rock sitting on the guardrail of a bridge. This is an elevated bridge above a road that's passing under it, and gives us a height of 8 meters above that reference point, which is the road. And we have a mass, and so we just have to figure out gravitational potential energy. In other words, we don't have to manipulate the equation at all. We're just going to go plug in our m times g times h, making sure we've got kilograms, making sure we've got meters. And so when you multiply those 3 numbers, it should just give you this exact number. We typically are rounding to 1 decimal place, and thankfully this one gives you 1 decimal place. So again, that's in joules. Number 2, a little different, a chicken on a 1.1 meter high counter. I don't know why a chicken is on a counter, I guess, but it has 20 joules of gravitational potential energy. You have to solve for the mass. So there is a manipulation you have to do here. Here's our base equation, and we want to solve for mass. So in order to do so, you're going to have to divide both sides of the equation by g and h. And so what it looks like is potential energy divided by g times h gives us our answer. So I plug in my numbers, 20 joules divided by gravity times the 1.1. Plug that into your calculators. I believe this one you do have to round. And so going to 1 decimal place gives us a mass of 1.9, and I'm going to use kilograms always for my mass unit. The last one, we've got a real light pencil, 0.01 kilogram pencil on a table that has 0.09 joules of gravitational potential relative to the floor. So that's our reference point. You have to solve for the height of the table. And so again, another manipulation. To get h by itself, you need to divide both sides of the equation by both m and g. And so you get potential energy divided by m times g will give us our answer. So we've got 0.09 joules divided by the product of our mass and gravity, and we'll carefully use parentheses when we do this. And this one you should have to round again to 1 decimal place. We would land at 0.9 meters, so not quite a meter high, which is reasonable, for the height of a counter. Sorry, yeah, a table, I guess, in that one. So I want you to kind of let this simmer. You now have 2 equations under your belt for the unit. You will be using both extensively when we learn about the conservation of energy, where potential energy is converted into kinetic and back. You'll learn about how this concept is best expressed with things like roller coasters or a skate park guy. In fact, you'll be doing some online simulations using what's called the skate park lab on the PhET lab. So knowing how to use these equations is going to be really critical. Tomorrow we'll be putting this one into practice. And so again, showing your work on your own is going to be really important in order to get accurate answers. I can't stress enough how important it is, especially when you're learning digitally, to really work through them yourself, because that involves many different parts of your brain, whereas just watching me and listening is very little. So thank you for watching. Figure out how to stop this here, and we'll see you again soon.